Welcome back to episode 9 of Double Dark Hunting. You might recognize these spooky null cards if you saw the last video. So this is dark pink and dark null. Pink cards get clued by everything, so let's say we wanted to clue 1s. Notice that not only does the pink 1 get clued, but also the pink 4. And all of these cards could be 1s or they could be pink. And of course, null cards get clued by literally nothing. So if we were to clue 5s, this would not get touched. No colors would touch it. So you have to get sneaky and creative with how to get null cards played. All right, let's jump into it, see how we do it. Kimby starts off, and my hand is just god-awful. So right off the bat, I think part of the plan is going to be to try to keep me busy to make sure I don't start discarding and drawing more null cards or pink cards or whatever, or 5s. So let's see. Kimby starts with an ejection. That's a nice way to get things started and to keep options open for me as well. So sure enough, I really want Kimby to discard because I actively see that, well, this is trash. And discarding trash is a great benefit, especially early on in the game. So, all right, I go ahead and do the only other really appealing looking clue on this board. So if you remember, since this is such a hard variant, we're not allowed to just give 5 stalls. So instead, this is a pull. Since it's more than one off chop, I'm saying, hey, these 5s are in the way of something else that's exciting in your hand. And turns out over the years, this strategy became so recognizable that it became a convention that if you get a 5s clue like this, and it's not like a stalling situation, sure enough, you can just right away count this card as playable. All right, so with that said, Kimby does the last valid clue on the board. Right, you can see she cannot do a 5 stall here because it would pull my null 5, and that's not exactly what we want to have happen. So only last clue she can give is yellow. So now this one was already pulled, so this one's identified as the 1, meaning this is the 2. Piper just plays. All right, so we have our first chance at a double bluff of some sort, some way to get 2 cards played. And this is always a fun challenge to try to orchestrate a way to creatively get them both. I choose to do a bluff, a single bluff, that's going to look like a finesse. And what does that mean? Well, check it out. I clue 2. Now, from Kimby's perspective, if you're Kimby's spot, she thinks, well, this is a play clue. It's not a yellow 2. She sees pink 2, so it's not pink 2. So therefore, it must be a self-finesse. So she plays, boom, red 1. And of course, she marks this as, from her perspective, 1 matches 2, so this is a red 2. So now it's Piper's turn, and he thinks, oh crap, Kimby just marked red 2 notes on this card, so now he's being called to respond. So he, sure enough, blind plays. Now the end result, other than a sick 3 for 1 overall, the end result is that Kimby now knows that this, you can see their notes, exclamation red means not red. So options are green or blue, because it's not yellow, not red. Oh, I should note, when I play Double Darks with folks, people seem like allergic to 1-for-1 clues. You might think, geez, we need to be so efficient. There's no way we can get away with a 1-for-1. But no, remember, it's not just about the 1-for-1, it's about the fact that you're delaying what could be discarded and what could be going on in my hand. And especially because the one trash I see on this whole board belongs to Kimby. Not only is this a 1-for-1, but it's what I like to call a call to discard. It's telling Kimby, I don't see anything. If this card was important, yeah, I'd be much more interested in maybe discarding early to have the opposite effect, right? Now Kimby would think, maybe I have something useful. I don't know. Or to be fair, maybe she just has a stale hand. So in any case, me giving this one for one does a lot more than just a one for one. So I feel like that's a common misconception about one for ones. It is early game, and just because it's a hard variant does not mean you should turbo aggressive discard just for the sake of discarding. Okay, anyway, sure enough, Kimmy gets the memo. No doubt she discards, yes. All right, so they've kept busy. And by the way, I mean, this is working great in their favor too. Kimby really wants to discard. To be fair, not that she really has a choice here, but it works in our favor that the more Kimby discards and Piper plays and Kimby plays, that means it's going to be a reinforcing cycle here, right? The more they draw new cards, the more I'm going to be giving clues, and hence the less I'll be discarding. So the nasty thing about nulls is that they can be really hard to chop move. The only surefire way to do it on demand, without some sort of trash chop move or tempo clue chop move, we've developed a strategy for re-cluing fives. So if I was to give a fives clue here, we call that essentially a pseudo save clue. It's just a signal saying someone has a null card on chop, watch out, and you should chop move. I mean, and that would get the job done, but the thing is, it doesn't help us with getting cards played and winning the game. So what I'd much prefer to do, and again, this clue might strike some people as odd, I give another one for one. The reason that is nice, though, is that it's giving Kimby 2 rounds, well, sorry, now 3 rounds worth of plays. And it also gives her a few rounds of opportunities to do priority finesses. So anyway, yeah, so now she's expected to play this. So she does. Cool. Now, once again, I would argue this clue is another call to discard on Piper. Because let's say if this was let's say it was a blue 2, something really high value, I would 100% do this bluff. I'd say a play clue here, have Kimby blind play, right? So the fact that I'm declining to do anything but this one for one is also what I'd call, basically call to discard. I'm telling Piper to start chucking cards. Kimby gets playing. Piper, I'm sure, is very happy with this arrangement. Again, like I said, my hand is incredibly valuable. We really don't want me to be discarding. Moving on. This was a really nice draw because, well, it saves the 3 and picks this up. So, and now, actually, what I was thinking would happen on my turn, or on Kimby's turn, is that Kimby has free choice to do a gentleman's. So if she discards this totally known card, that would have the effect of Piper playing, and therefore delaying the loss of this red 3. So that was sort of my assumption. But you can see Kimby just plays it. She doesn't care about this at all. So actually on this turn, I wrote, turn 16, strong red 3, SN, which means speculation notes. So because it really wouldn't have cost Kimby much to discard and let this play. And then, for example, let's say something like blue 1 shows up. We can keep this rolling and let Piper's chop. Oh yeah, I mean this would be perfect, right? Ta-da! And notice red 3 would have easily survived in any sort of line like that. So, which is to say, right, that this is why it's so weird from my perspective for Kimby to knowingly let the red 3 die. And sure enough, it dies. So that's why I strongly suspect I have red 3. Next, sadly, I do decide this is the time to discard. The reason is, well, I've only gotten 1 clue this whole game. No attempts have been made to save my cards. So, and I do see, blue 4 seems valuable. Piper just drew red 4, so honestly, I think the worst case would be, I think exactly blue 4. Blue 4 or red 4 is what this probably is. So yeah, there's actually really, well, or trash, of course. but I'm talking worst case. So sure enough, I discard with like basically full safety. So now Kimby's all set. So notice, yeah, we set her up so well to not have to worry about this for a long time. So she can just keep playing. And Piper just clues red. Sort of like the green clue before, no reason to get too fancy. We really just want to keep me occupied. And now, yeah, because little do I know, yeah, my hand is just like atrocious. So Piper tells me, hey, you should maybe think about not discarding, please. This is also a nice case. Let's see. So Piper just discarded, which means his new chop is fairly fresh. So sort of the same evaluation I had, right? It's kind of possible. It's something like a blue 4, maybe can't be yellow 4, not green 4. Yeah, again, there aren't many other options. Blue 4 or trash. So he really plays it safe and gives me something to do. And the point being here is that now I have an option to. I bet I do it. I do it. I protect the chop. So I get this card in such a way that also protects this chop. So this is my favorite kind of game. It's just we're all sort of working together to make sure everything we're discarding and playing is sort of lines up. This move is interesting because it identifies the 5. We do not call it unnecessary, right? So at its face, it's just a what we call a trash finesse. It's saying a play clue, so of course Piper's going to mark this as green 4, and then Kimby's like, uh-oh, I must play. It doesn't have to discharge or anything because a single blind play will promise it as trash. So sure enough, green 4, which gives Piper another play. So now Piper's nice and protected for 2 rounds. Sure enough, he plays. All right, Kimby's still keeping busy with good cards. This has not been chop moved yet. These have not been chop moved yet. we're just chugging along. So play, and now, oh baby, exciting times. All right, it's finally come time for Piper to clue me a 5, which is a chop move. And actually, the notes on this card are really interesting. I already have negative pink, negative yellow, negative red. And since green is already finished, there are actually very few options of what this is. You can see my note, 5 chop move. It's only exactly blue 2, blue 4, or null 5. Another fun little bit is now that this got negative 5, I fully know that this is a 3. And in fact, when I play it, Piper will know he must have the red 4. So this turn was pretty interesting. We have the 1 and 2, so it would be pretty sweet to get a double bluff. And actually, one thing I could consider is green to Piper. So this is what we call a burn clue. At least back then, I'm sure we counted this as a double ignition in this case. So Kimby would play, Piper would play. So maybe that's okay, but the thing is, I think we can do better. I think we can actually get this in some other way. And since this card can still be blue 3 or pink 5, I just decide to keep it simple and do a self-color bluff. If you haven't seen this before, it's sort of weird looking, right? I'm cluing this blue card as playable. Now, on the surface, that is absurd, right? Because Kimby literally knows, by virtue of getting a blue clue, she now knows that this cannot be playable. So you could say, well, that's really dumb. But here's the thing. Even though Kimby doesn't have a blue 1, if Kimby, whatever, discards or something, Piper is definitely going to mark and assume he must have blue 1, blue 2. So I think that's the main sort of logical way this works. It's telling someone they have to play, and since Kimby sees that no one else can play, she must play to demonstrate that no one else does. Piper recluse fives, which, as I mentioned, is calling for a chop move on a null card. I mean, it can never be on me because I will just always assume it's on Kimby. So we all mark this as chop moved, and we can go on with life. So sure enough, I play the 3, and you can see Piper writes red 4 elimination notes. So he knows red 4 is somewhere in here. Now, things are getting a little tight, admittedly. We have 1 clue left. Piper's hand is getting to be sort of a mess. So let's see how Kimby uses the last clue. Boom. Of course, that's just a normal, good old-fashioned bluff. So, we've come so far. Efficiency 1.25. We have half the cards played. And now, with this blue clue comes something else really exciting. Not only do I know this is blue too, but also, now if you look at this card, now I know it is exactly null 5. The only other options at the time were blue 2 or blue 4, but after that, it's exactly identified null 5. Now, I want to do everything in my power to get this card played, because, what's fun, because I know I have the 5, and this was null chop moved, I know that Kimby knows that this is the null 3 or 4. The trick, and actually this is where so many null games run into a huge amount of trouble. If they were swapped, this gets to be a pain in the ass to deal with a lot of the time. You usually have to do like at least 2 1-for-1s to get this sort of thing out. But in this case, all it takes is for this to get played somehow, and then it'll be a cascading effect. We'll get this to play, Kimby will play this, and I'll play this. I think this is probably the last clutch clue of the game. One of our favorite, and honestly, one of the most powerful conventions we have in high efficiency variants like this is, boom, bombing your chop. So, by bombing the chop, there used to be, once upon a time, a convention called a dump truck. And if the amazing name isn't enough to convince you that it's good, I'll explain what it means. So the original dump truck was to tell someone that literally every card in their hand was playable in order, and they should just start playing their cards. So that got deleted because I think pretty soon people realized, like, this literally never happens, and this is bad. This is not worth ever considering. But they made a second version of it called a distributed dump truck, which would be signaling to the team that each player on the team should play their first finesse. But we took it one step further. If you remember how blaze discards work, let's say this was magically a red 4. Ignore the discard. Let's say I knew this was red 4, and I discard it. Usually, this would now be promising this card is red 4. But now it's Kimby's turn, and she has to do something to right this situation, because this is about to bomb. So this is such a clever convention. I love blaze discards. Kimby is being called to blind play the matching finesse position. So since it's not on the first finesse, she will play second finesse. And after that, Piper will be like, what the hell just happened? I must have the red 4 here. So with that in mind, we created a mashup between a dump truck and a blaze discard, and we call it the dumpster fire. And it's a beautiful creation. So I bomb this. It's Kimby's turn. She looks to Piper's hand and sees that the only card that could be signaled as a double play would be this card, right? Because if she blind played this card, Piper would clearly just assume it was a normal dump truck and would play this card. So Kimby is being called to blind play this card, and that will get Piper to blind play this card. But it also gets more complicated in this case, because now I draw a really, really important card. So now we're in trouble, because if she plays, Piper's going to be in a really awkward spot. I guess to be fair, he could shout or something, but then things are going to be really awkward because now I'm going to have to stall and my hand is gummed up. So Kimby makes the decision to scream. And I think that is very justified. So yeah, she discards in order to get tempo on this. So the difference here is that now Piper has a clue on his turn, so he could do something like this. And now my cards get to play instead of just getting locked for a round. So admittedly, Piper has to make a decision now. There is a universe where this was not a dump truck at all, and Piano just had some weird read and was bombing this card. So maybe I just made a mistake, and that would be, possible because Kimby didn't respond. She just discarded. Piper does, I think, a very smart move here. He sort of hedges and sort of goes for a halfway approach. Yeah, he clues 5. Now, I am trusting the team that these are going to play. Well, I trust that I was actually being screamed at here. I think my card is important, but at the same time, Piper does use the last clue. So, and not only that, but he gives a clue that traditionally means I should blind play. So, like, Piper has known trash, right? He could clearly just discard. And, like, let's say this was a blue 5 or something. Oh, God, it can't be a blue 5. Let's say this was like a red 5 or something. In this case, Piper just discards. And now, he can let me do this 5 clue. So that would be much more preferable. So anyway, all in all, that is just to say that I think it's very clear that I should just blind play. And sure enough, Kimby does go back to play this. And Piper trusts too and plays this. Now yellow's dealt with. Kimby, this is exactly known null 4. This is exactly null 5. The blue one just showed up, so let's see how we finish off. Kimby clues 4 here. Now this is actually, I looked over this game once before this video, and at first I was like, maybe this was strange, because maybe we want to use this 4. But actually, this is, when I looked at the review, this would be a game-losing mistake. Because now I have 4 cards to play through, and Piper will only have 1. So this is like very lopsided in play distribution. So instead, Kimby decides to use this blue 4. The only risk would be that he could consider this as being pink 4, and therefore this being a 3. Right? So it should be like 4, and he's supposed to play this, and then this is pink 4. So I remember being a little scared about that at first, but looking back, like, there's just no way that's the case, right? Pink 2 played, jeez, all the way back here. So for that to be true, that would mean we've had pink 4 sitting here this whole game, with pink 4 here, pink 3, and just everyone's ignoring it. Everyone's ignoring it. Ignoring it. I'm doing this weird move for some reason. Yeah, so anyway, all that is to say, like, contextually, there's just no way that is pink 4 and pink 3. Yeah, in fact, this turn, I could even include pink here. Yeah, so anyway, I hope that makes sense. And which is why Piper blind plays. Trusts that it is indeed a redistribution, and that we just basically cannot use this blue 4 at such low pace. Also notice the order of the blue cards are now perfect, so we could just get that rolling. And now, as soon as this pink 3 is drawn, I think we have won the game. I don't have any clues, so, right, I just play the 5. Kimby, sure enough, you can see this is actually known null 4, just from all the clues from the game. So play, and we round things off with one more 1 for 1. Not on the bottom, indeed. Boom, boom, boom. And that is a GG. Thanks for watching.